Have you ever been pulled out of a deep, peaceful sleep by a sudden, sharp pain in your leg? One moment you're resting quietly, and the next your calf muscle feels like it has turned into a knot of iron, twisting so tightly that you can't move. It always seems to happen at the worst time, right in the middle of the night, often around 3 o'clock in the morning. You find yourself rubbing, stretching, maybe even hopping out of bed to walk it off, wondering why on earth your body betrays you when you need rest the most. And if you've experienced this, you're not alone. Millions of people over 60 know exactly how it feels to wake up in the dead of night with a leg cramp that seems to have a mind of its own. What's interesting is that for many people, these cramps are not just random events. They often follow a pattern, striking around the same time and leaving you with a mix of frustration and exhaustion the next day. And that makes you wonder why 3 in the morning, why not noon, or 5 in the evening, or while you're simply sitting on the couch? Why does your body choose that precise hour when the world is quiet and you're supposed to be resting? The truth is, your body is trying to tell you something. These cramps are not just a nuisance, they're signals, little alarms going off inside your muscles, pointing to deeper causes that deserve attention. For people in their 60s and beyond, they can mean even more because our bodies change with age in ways we don't always notice until they catch us off guard. That's why understanding leg cramps isn't just about relief. It's about taking care of yourself, protecting your health, and making sure that your nights are spent resting, not writhing in pain. So let's talk about it together like we're having a late-night conversation over a cup of tea. I want to walk you through why these cramps happen, why they seem to favor the early hours of the morning, and what it really means for your health. More importantly, we'll go over simple, practical steps you can take so that the next time you close your eyes, you can drift off knowing you're less likely to be jolted awake by that all too familiar pain. First, let's look at the obvious question. What exactly is happening inside your muscles when they cramp? Imagine your muscles like a set of rubber bands. When they're healthy and flexible, they stretch and release smoothly, allowing you to walk, bend, climb stairs, and rest without trouble. But when a cramp hits, it's as though that rubber band suddenly snaps tight and refuses to let go. The muscle fibers contract, but they don't relax, and the harder you try to stretch or move, the more stubborn the spasm becomes. This contraction is why the pain feels so sharp, almost as if your body is locking itself against your will. Now, why does this tend to happen more at night, especially around 3 in the morning? The answer lies in the rhythm of your body. At night, your circulation slows down, your body temperature drops slightly, and your muscles aren't as active as they are during the day. This combination makes your muscles more vulnerable to cramping. If you've been lying in one position for too long, especially with your toes pointed down like many people naturally do while sleeping, your calf muscles shorten without you even realizing it. Then, when your brain sends a signal, even a small one, the muscle contracts. But instead of easing up, it clamps down and refuses to release. That's the moment you wake up with pain so strong it feels like it could cut through your dreams. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. 3 in the morning is a very particular time. According to our natural body clock, the circadian rhythm, this is when our body is often at its lowest point in terms of circulation and hydration. If you went to bed a little dehydrated, or if your body's mineral balance is slightly off, this is when those weaknesses reveal themselves. Your muscles rely on minerals like magnesium, potassium, and calcium to contract and relax smoothly. Think of them as the oil that keeps the gears turning. When those minerals are low, the gears grind and the cramps begin. For people over 60, this problem is often made worse by a few other factors that sneak up as we age. One of them is simple. Our bodies don't hold on to water as efficiently as they used to. Even if you drink enough during the day, you might go to bed slightly dehydrated without noticing it. Add to that the medications many older adults take, such as diuretics for high blood pressure or pills for heart conditions, and suddenly your body is losing even more fluids and minerals overnight. It's like running a car without enough oil. Sooner or later, something's going to seize up. Another factor is circulation. As we get older, our blood vessels can become less flexible, and conditions like diabetes or varicose veins can make it harder for blood to move freely through our legs. Poor circulation means your muscles don't always get the oxygen and nutrients they need, especially when you're lying still for hours. The result? A muscle that is starving for support and more likely to rebel in the form of a cramp. Think back to the last time you had one of these cramps. Did it happen after a particularly active day? Maybe after you went for a long walk, spent hours gardening, or even stood in the kitchen cooking for your family. Sometimes overuse during the day leaves your muscles fatigued, and fatigue is a big trigger for nighttime cramps. But here's the twist. It doesn't have to be overuse. Inactivity can be just as dangerous. If you've been sitting too long during the day, watching TV, reading, or working on a puzzle without stretching, your muscles tighten up quietly, like a rope slowly winding itself. By the time you get to bed, that tension is waiting to snap. What's important to realize is that cramps are not a sign of weakness or failure. They're not your body punishing you. Instead, they're a message, a way your muscles communicate that they need more care, more balance, more attention. And that's good news because it means you have the power to do something about it. I remember speaking to a friend in her 70s who swore that her nightly cramps were just part of getting old. She accepted them as unavoidable, something she had to suffer through because of her age. But when she started making small changes, drinking more water in the evening, stretching her legs gently before bed, and adjusting her sleeping position, the cramps that had tormented her for years became rare visitors instead of nightly intruders. Her story is a reminder that age is not the end of comfort, and pain doesn't have to be permanent. So, what can you start doing tonight to ease those stubborn cramps? The first and most powerful step is hydration. It may sound simple, but drinking enough water throughout the day, and especially before bedtime, can make a remarkable difference. Remember, dehydration is one of the main reasons muscles misbehave. But there's a trick here. It's not just about guzzling a big glass of water right before bed, because that can leave you running to the bathroom at 2 in the morning. Instead, think of it as fueling your body steadily. A glass of water at dinner, maybe some herbal tea in the evening, and a few sips right before sleep can keep you hydrated without disrupting your rest. Equally important is paying attention to your mineral intake. Foods rich in magnesium like leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and even a little dark chocolate help your muscles relax naturally. Potassium, which you'll find in bananas, oranges, or sweet potatoes, helps regulate muscle contractions. And calcium, the mineral we often associate with bones, also plays a key role in muscle health. For many older adults, diet alone isn't enough, especially if medications are draining these nutrients from your system. That's why some people benefit from supplements, but it's always best to check with your doctor before adding anything new. Another simple step is stretching. Think of it as giving your muscles a bedtime story. Just a few minutes of gentle stretching, pointing and flexing your toes, rolling your ankles, or standing up to stretch your calves can tell your muscles it's safe to relax. This small ritual can set the stage for a calmer night, where your body feels soothed and your muscles are less likely to rebel. And let's not forget the power of movement. Staying active during the day keeps your muscles flexible and your circulation strong. A short walk after dinner, some light yoga, or even dancing in your living room to your favorite song can all make a difference. It's about finding joy in movement, not pushing yourself to exhaustion. As we peel back these layers, it becomes clear that leg cramps at 3 in the morning aren't just an annoyance. They're a window into how your body is functioning. They're telling you about your hydration, your circulation, your activity, and your nutrition. And the best part, every one of those factors is something you can influence with small, meaningful changes. Now that we've explored what happens inside your muscles and why your body seems to favor those early morning hours for cramps, we can begin to look deeper at the hidden connections between these nighttime spasms and your overall health. Sometimes they're just cramps. Other times they can hint at conditions that deserve more careful attention. When we start to look beneath the surface of those midnight cramps, something interesting happens. We begin to see that they're not always just random muscle spasms. Sometimes they're whispers from the body, subtle clues pointing to bigger things that may be happening inside. It doesn't mean that every cramp is a medical emergency, of course, but ignoring them completely can sometimes be like turning down the volume on a smoke alarm and hoping everything is fine. The truth is, our bodies are always talking to us, and after 60, those messages become even more important to listen to. One of the hidden connections that often surprises people is circulation. You see, when you're young, your blood vessels are flexible and responsive. They expand and contract easily, delivering oxygen and nutrients exactly where they're needed. But as the years pass, those vessels can stiffen. Conditions like high blood pressure, diabetes, or simply the natural wear of aging can narrow the pathways. When circulation is sluggish, muscles don't get the same steady flow of oxygen and minerals. And when a muscle doesn't get what it needs, it can misfire, sending you that piercing cramp as a cry for help. I've spoken to folks who thought their cramps were nothing but bad luck, only to discover later that they were tied to something deeper, like peripheral artery disease. The cramps were their first signal, the body's way of nudging them to pay attention before things got worse. That's why doctors often ask about cramps during checkups, because while they may seem small, they can be windows into bigger health stories. Another surprising connection is medication. Many people over 60 are on prescriptions to help manage conditions like blood pressure, heart rhythm, or fluid retention. Some of these medicines, especially diuretics, do a great job of controlling those conditions, but they also flush minerals like potassium and magnesium out of the body. It's a trade-off, one that can leave your muscles more vulnerable to cramping. The tricky part is that most of us don't automatically connect the dots between a pill we take at breakfast and a cramp that wakes us up at 3 in the morning, but the body connects those dots whether we realize it or not. This is why it's so important to keep open communication with your doctor. Instead of suffering silently and thinking, "Oh, I just have bad legs," it can be powerful to say, "These cramps are happening more often. Could they be related to my medication?" That single question can sometimes lead to small adjustments that make a huge difference, sparing you countless nights of pain. There's also the role of nerves. Our muscles don't work alone. They rely on nerves to send signals, to tell them when to contract and when to relax. But as we get older, nerve health can decline. Conditions like neuropathy, often linked to diabetes or vitamin deficiencies, can interfere with those signals. It's like trying to run a light bulb on a frayed wire. The signal flickers, misfires, and sometimes sparks. In the body, that spark feels like a cramp. And while stretching and hydration can help, addressing the nerve health beneath it all is just as vital. I remember an older gentleman who used to come to our community centre. He was in his late 70s, and he would joke about how his calves had a mind of their own at night. For years, he brushed it off. Then one day, he learned he had a vitamin B12 deficiency, something that was affecting his nerves. Once he corrected it, not only did his cramps improve, but his energy lifted too. He told me it was like waking up from a fog he didn't know he was in. That's the kind of hidden connection that makes paying attention so valuable. Now, let's not forget lifestyle. Sometimes cramps are not about disease or medication at all. They're about how we use or don't use our bodies during the day. Think of your muscles like elastic bands left in a drawer. If you stretch them often, they stay flexible. But if you leave them unused for too long, they dry out, stiffen, and snap when you least expect it. Many older adults spend more hours sitting than moving, and while rest has its place, the lack of gentle movement leaves muscles less prepared for the long stillness of the night. Even something as simple as how we sit matters. Crossing your legs for long periods, slumping in a chair, or letting your feet dangle without support can cut off circulation and tighten muscles. By the time you lie down to sleep, those muscles are already wound tight, and the stillness of night just adds fuel to the fire. But here's the hopeful part. Small, thoughtful changes can undo years of bad habits. Something as easy as standing up every hour to stretch or wiggling your toes while watching television can keep the blood flowing and the muscles loose. You don't need to run marathons or lift heavy weights. Your body is asking for kindness, not punishment. Hydration, circulation, nerves, and movement, these are the 4 big threads that weave together the story of nighttime cramps. But there's one more thread that often goes unnoticed: sleep position. Most of us don't think twice about how we arrange ourselves in bed, but your muscles do. Sleeping with your toes pointed downward, for example, shortens the calf muscles and sets the stage for a cramp. For some people, simply changing their position or propping a pillow under their knees to adjust the angle can dramatically reduce the number of nighttime attacks. It's like discovering that the enemy wasn't outside your door, it was hiding in the way you were lying all along. I want you to picture something for a moment. Imagine slipping into bed tonight and feeling your body melt into the sheets. Your muscles are relaxed, your breathing is calm, and for once, you're not worried about being startled awake by pain. You feel safe in your own skin again, comforted by the thought that you've taken steps to protect yourself. That picture can be your reality because these cramps are not destiny. They're not a life sentence you have to endure just because you've crossed a certain birthday. They're messages, and when you listen and respond, your body thanks you. It reminds me of a woman I knew named Eleanor. She had been battling cramps almost every night, sometimes so severe that she would cry. She tried rubbing ointments, taking warm baths, even ignoring them, but nothing seemed to work. When we talked, I asked her about her evenings. She admitted she often skipped water after dinner because she didn't want to get up to use the bathroom. She also confessed she rarely stretched, because she thought stretching was only for athletes. We made a small plan together, just 1 extra glass of water at dinner and 5 minutes of calf stretches before bed. Within 2 weeks, Eleanor was sleeping through the night without those searing cramps. She told me it felt like she had gotten her life back. That's the power of small steps. They may sound almost too simple, but when it comes to the body, it's often the small daily choices that create the biggest transformations. So, if you've ever woken up clutching your leg at 3 in the morning, I want you to remember something important. You're not powerless. You're not at the mercy of some cruel trick of aging. You have tools, you have choices, and you have the ability to turn those nights of pain into nights of peace. And as we continue this journey together, we'll keep peeling back the layers, looking at both the everyday causes and the deeper signals hidden inside those cramps, because the more we understand what our bodies are telling us, the more control we gain, not just over the cramps, but over our health, our comfort, and our quality of life. Now that we've looked at how cramps can be linked to things like circulation, hydration, nerve health, and even the way we sleep, it's time to talk about what you can do to truly take charge, because knowledge is comforting, but action is empowering. And the truth is, these cramps are not stronger than you. They don't have to dictate how your nights feel or how your mornings begin. The first thing to remember is that prevention is always easier than cure. If you've ever had a cramp in the middle of the night, you know how hard it is to relax once it starts. You rub, you stretch, you twist your body this way and that, but it still feels like your calf is being squeezed in a vice. By then, the moment has already stolen your rest. That's why taking steps before bedtime is so powerful. It's like locking your doors before you go to sleep. You may not be able to stop every single cramp, but you can cut down the chances dramatically. Think of it as creating a bedtime ritual, not just for your mind, but for your muscles. A warm shower in the evening can work wonders. The heat relaxes tight muscles, improves circulation, and makes stretching easier. Follow that with a few gentle stretches, nothing intense, just enough to tell your muscles, it's safe to relax now. You might flex your toes upward, roll your ankles slowly, or even stand with your hands on the wall while easing one heel toward the ground. These little acts are like lullabies for your muscles, soothing them into calmness before the night begins. Another helpful step is massaging your legs with a bit of lotion or oil. Not only does it feel good, but it stimulates blood flow, warms the tissue, and prepares your muscles for rest. Some people even keep a warm compress by the bed, just in case a cramp does sneak in, so they can apply it right away. It's a reminder that you don't have to just suffer. You can respond with kindness to your body. But let's step back for a moment, because while physical steps are important, your mindset matters too. Many older adults feel betrayed by their bodies. They think, I never used to have this problem. Why now? That thought alone can keep you tense, anxious, and on edge, waiting for the next cramp. And tension itself makes cramps worse. Shifting your mindset can be just as healing as stretching your calves. Instead of seeing cramps as punishment, see them as messages. Each one is a little nudge, reminding you to give your body something it needs: hydration, minerals, movement, or rest. When you answer that call, you're not just fixing cramps, you're building a healthier, more balanced body overall. There's also something to be said for listening to your body throughout the day, not just at night. For example, if you find your legs cramp more on days when you're very active, it might be a sign that you need more recovery, more fluids, more stretching, maybe even a short nap to let your muscles recharge. If they cramp more on sedentary days, that's your cue to add small bursts of movement, standing up every hour, circling your ankles, or doing a little march in place. Your body is like a friend trying to get your attention. When you listen, the relationship improves. Now, I also want to acknowledge something many people worry about but rarely say out loud. Some people fear that cramps are a sign of something scary, like heart trouble or serious disease. And while most cramps are not dangerous, they can sometimes be linked to conditions that deserve attention: circulatory issues, nerve problems, or imbalances caused by medications. That's why it's never a waste of time to bring them up at your doctor's visit. Think of it this way: even if the cramps turn out to be harmless, the peace of mind you gain is worth it. And if they point to something that needs care, catching it early is a gift you give to yourself. I once met a man in his mid-60s who brushed off his cramps for years. He thought they were just part of aging, nothing to bother a doctor about. Then one day, during a checkup, he finally mentioned them. His doctor ran a few simple tests and discovered circulation issues that, left untreated, could have become very serious. With some changes in his care plan, not only did his cramps ease, but he also lowered his risk of something much worse. That story always stays with me because it shows how something as small as a cramp can sometimes be the body's way of protecting you, if you're willing to listen. So tonight, when you think about those cramps that like to visit at 3 a.m, I want you to see them differently. They are not your enemy. They are your body's way of reminding you that it needs your partnership. Hydrate during the day, stretch in the evening, pay attention to your minerals and nutrients, keep your body moving in gentle, joyful ways. Talk openly with your doctor about any patterns you notice. And most of all, don't lose hope. Change is possible at any age, and comfort is not something you have to leave behind just because you've turned 60, 70, or 80. Imagine waking up tomorrow after a full night's rest. No cramps yanking you out of sleep, no soreness lingering in your calves. You swing your legs out of bed, stand up, and feel steady, strong, and grateful for the day ahead. That vision is not just a dream, it's something you can work toward, step by step, choice by choice. And every step you take in that direction is a victory, not just against cramps, but for your overall well-being. I want to leave you with this thought. Life after 60 is not about surrendering to discomfort. It's about rewriting the story your body tells. Yes, your muscles may tighten, yes, your nights may sometimes be interrupted, but with awareness, care, and gentle daily practices, you can ease those burdens and reclaim the peace you deserve. Cramps may strike at 3 a.m, but your strength, your wisdom, and your resilience strike every hour of the day. And that is what truly defines you. So take heart, take action, and take care of yourself. Your nights can be restful again, your mornings can be bright, and your body can still be a source of comfort instead of pain. Remember, you are not alone in this journey. Millions face it, but millions also overcome it. And you can too. Even as we talk about prevention and care, I know some of you may be thinking, but what about when a cramp hits in the moment? What do I actually do at 3 a.m. when the pain has already taken hold? That's a fair question, because no matter how careful we are, sometimes the body still catches us off guard. And in those moments, knowing how to respond can turn agony into relief much faster. The very first instinct most people have is to grab the leg, squeeze it, or even just wait for it to pass. But waiting often feels like an eternity, and squeezing usually makes the knot feel worse. Instead, what helps most is to gently lengthen the muscle. If it's your calf, that means flexing your toes upward toward your shin. You can do this by sitting up and pulling gently on your toes with your hand, or by standing and placing your heel firmly on the ground while leaning forward. It's not about forcing it, it's about coaxing the muscle to let go. Sometimes standing up and walking slowly, even if it hurts at first, can encourage blood to flow and release the spasm. A warm compress can help relax the muscle, while an ice pack might numb the pain if the cramp lingers afterward. Some people even keep a tennis ball or foam roller by the bed to gently massage the area when a cramp sneaks in. Think of it as having a small toolkit ready for those unwelcome visitors in the night. But beyond the immediate relief, there's a deeper layer of healing that comes from paying attention to the patterns of your cramps. Do they always strike after particularly hot days? Do they come more often when you've had alcohol, coffee, or skipped water in the evening? Do they tend to appear after you've done a lot of walking, or, ironically, after you've done very little? Each of these clues can help you understand the unique language of your body. No two people are exactly alike, and what triggers cramps for one person may be different for another. Your job is not to compare, but to notice. I often encourage older adults to keep a simple cramp diary. Nothing complicated, just jot down when a cramp happens, how long it lasted, and what you did that day. Within a week or two, patterns often emerge, and those patterns give you power. Once you see that certain habits or situations seem linked, you can adjust. You're no longer guessing in the dark, you're making informed choices. There's something deeply empowering about shifting from, I don't know why this is happening, to, I understand what my body is telling me. That shift is like turning on a light in a dark hallway. Suddenly you feel more in control, less like a victim of circumstance, and more like the active partner in your own well-being. Another layer that often gets overlooked is stress. Believe it or not, stress and anxiety can play a big role in cramps. When we're tense, our muscles tighten. That tension may not feel obvious during the day, but it accumulates. By the time night falls, your body is already holding on to tightness you didn't even realize was there. Add stillness, dehydration, or a nutrient gap, and suddenly your body seizes up with a cramp. That's why calming practices like deep breathing, gentle stretching, or listening to soothing music before bed can be surprisingly effective. They don't just quiet your mind, they also release tension from your muscles. One woman I spoke with, who had struggled with nighttime cramps for years, swore that her nightly habit of sitting quietly with a cup of chamomile tea made all the difference. It wasn't magic, it was the combination of hydration, relaxation, and routine that taught her body how to let go. And while we're on the subject of tea, it's worth noting that what you drink before bed matters too. Caffeine and alcohol, for instance, are notorious for disrupting sleep and depleting the body of hydration and minerals. That's why swapping a glass of wine or coffee late in the evening for water or a calming herbal tea can be such a simple, powerful step. It doesn't mean giving up the things you enjoy altogether, it just means choosing the right time for them so they don't sabotage your rest. I'd also like to bring up something that many people don't consider: footwear. The shoes you wear during the day have a direct impact on how your legs feel at night. Shoes without proper support, or ones that force your feet into unnatural positions, put strain on your calves and arches. By the time you get to bed, that strain is waiting to express itself as a cramp. Investing in supportive shoes, or even using simple insoles, can pay off in surprising ways when it comes to nighttime comfort. It's these small daily choices, hydration, stretching, relaxation, supportive footwear, that add up. None of them alone may feel like the magic cure, but together they create an environment in which cramps have less room to thrive. They build a foundation of care that your body can rest upon. Still, I know it can feel frustrating. Some nights, despite your best efforts, a cramp will still sneak in. That's when it helps to remember that perfection isn't the goal. Progress is. If you used to have cramps 3 or 4 nights a week, and now you only have them once in a while, that's a victory. If they're less intense, shorter, or easier to manage, That's also a sign that your efforts are working. The body responds slowly sometimes, but it does respond. What's most important is to stay curious, patient, and compassionate with yourself. Too often, people over 60 get the message from society that their discomfort is inevitable, that pain is simply part of aging, but that's not true. Aging is natural, yes, but suffering doesn't have to be. With care, awareness, and small steps, comfort can return, peace can return, and restful nights can return. And perhaps the greatest gift of all is that the very habits that reduce cramps, hydration, balanced nutrition, gentle movement, stress relief, are also habits that support your overall health. They protect your heart, your bones, your energy, and your mood. In other words, by addressing cramps, you're not just solving one problem. You're building a stronger, healthier, more vibrant version of yourself. That's why I see cramps not as a curse, but as a blessing in disguise. They are the body's way of saying, pay attention to me, care for me, support me. When you listen and respond, you're not only easing the pain of the moment, you're also investing in your future days, future nights, and future joys. So as you prepare for tonight, I want you to hold on to this simple truth. You are not at the mercy of those 3 a.m. cramps. You have knowledge now, you have tools, you have choices, and with every small step, you are reclaiming your nights, one restful hour at a time. By now, you can probably see that those 3 a.m. cramps are not random, not meaningless, and certainly not a punishment you just have to endure. They are signals, they are reminders, and in many ways, they are opportunities to care for your body in ways that ripple out far beyond a single muscle spasm. But let's look deeper at what these cramps really mean for your life, because it's not just about the pain in the moment, it's about how that pain steals from you. It interrupts your sleep, and poor sleep affects your energy, your mood, your memory, even your immune system. A night cut short by cramps can lead to days where you feel foggy, less steady on your feet, more likely to stumble or feel weak. And the last thing anyone over 60 needs is another reason to lose balance or confidence. That's why reclaiming your nights from cramps is about so much more than comfort. It's about preserving your independence, your vitality, your joy. Think about the mornings when you wake refreshed after a full night's rest. You feel steadier, your steps are stronger, and your patience is longer. You're more likely to enjoy your breakfast, take that walk, or pick up the phone to call a friend. Good sleep makes you feel more like yourself again. And by managing cramps, by protecting those precious hours of rest, you give yourself back the mornings you deserve. Long-term care for your muscles starts with consistency. Just as brushing your teeth every night protects your smile, stretching your calves, hydrating, and choosing supportive routines protect your legs. Some people wonder, do I really have to do these things every day? And my answer is always gentle but honest. Yes, you do, because your body thrives on consistency. You wouldn't expect to plant a seed and see a tree the next day. You water it, nurture it, and little by little, growth happens. Your muscles are the same. And the truth is, once these practices become habits, they stop feeling like chores. Drinking water with dinner, stretching while you brush your teeth, massaging your calves with lotion before bed, these can become rituals, small acts of care you even begin to look forward to. They become reminders that you're still investing in yourself, still valuing your comfort, still choosing to live well. I've seen this transformation happen many times. A gentleman in his late 60s once told me he hated stretching. He thought it was silly and unnecessary. But after a few weeks of nightly cramps, he gave in and tried a short routine, less than 5 minutes each evening. To his surprise, not only did his cramps ease, but he also began waking up with less stiffness in his back and knees. It's like I oiled the hinges, he joked. What started as a burden became a gift, something he couldn't imagine going without. This is why I believe leg cramps, frustrating as they are, can become turning points. They force us to pay attention in ways we might otherwise ignore. They invite us to create healthier patterns that support our whole body. And when we accept that invitation, we don't just sleep better, we live better. Now let's talk about something equally important: asking for help when you need it. Too often, older adults try to handle everything alone. They think complaining about cramps makes them a burden, or they don't want to bother the doctor with something that feels small. But your health is never a bother. Your comfort matters, and no one should have to suffer silently. If your cramps are frequent, severe, or come with other symptoms like swelling, numbness, or weakness, then it's not just a nuisance. It's a sign to get checked. Sometimes cramps are connected to circulation problems or medication side effects that can and should be addressed. Speaking up isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's you taking your health seriously, ensuring you can keep enjoying the things that matter most. And even beyond the doctor's office, sharing your experiences with family, friends, or even communities of people your age can lighten the load. You'd be amazed how many others nod in understanding the moment you mention those 3 a.m. cramps. You're not alone in this. There's comfort in knowing others have been there too, and even more comfort in sharing tips, encouragement, and laughter about it. I also want to remind you that your body, even now, has remarkable resilience. Muscles heal, circulation improves, habits reshape health. It's never too late. I've seen people in their 80s make small changes that completely altered the quality of their nights. Age may change the body, but it never erases its ability to respond to care. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, so let's paint a picture of the long term. Imagine a life where your nights are peaceful, your mornings are strong, and your days are free from the fear of being yanked awake by pain. Imagine knowing that you've done your part to keep your body hydrated, nourished, and supported. Imagine the ripple effect, better sleep leading to clearer thoughts, more energy, steadier steps, and a brighter mood. This is not fantasy. It's the very real outcome of small daily choices repeated with love and consistency. And here's the best part. Every step you take toward easing cramps is also a step toward greater health overall. When you drink more water, your kidneys, skin, and brain thank you. When you eat more magnesium and potassium, your heart thanks you. When you stretch and move, your joints and circulation thank you. When you lower your stress, your immune system thanks you. These are not isolated victories, they're whole body triumphs. So the next time a cramp tries to steal your peace, don't see it as a curse. See it as a reminder that your body is alive, still asking for your care, still capable of responding to love. And know that by listening and acting, you are giving yourself one of the greatest gifts of all, the chance to live each day and each night in greater comfort and joy. As we close this conversation, I want you to carry this with you. You are stronger than the cramps. You are wiser than the pain. And you are more capable than you may realize. Life after 60 is not about decline, it's about choice. The choice to pay attention, the choice to act, the choice to keep investing in yourself. So tonight, when you slide under the covers, do it with hope. Know that you are equipped with knowledge, with tools, and with a renewed sense of control. And when the clock strikes 3, let it be a reminder not of pain, but of possibility. The possibility of restful nights, peaceful mornings, and a body that, with your care, can still carry you forward with strength. Here's to nights of peace, mornings of gratitude, and a life lived fully no matter the number on your birthday cake. If you've stayed with me through this whole journey, you've likely noticed something. Leg cramps may seem small, but when we look closer, they tell a much bigger story. They are like tiny flashlights shining into the corners of our health, revealing things we might otherwise overlook: our hydration, our circulation, our daily habits, even our stress levels and sleep positions. They remind us that the body, no matter how many decades it has carried us, still asks for care, attention, and love. And maybe, in a way, that's the real lesson here. Aging is not about the body giving up. It's about the body asking for a different kind of partnership. In our younger years, we could push harder, neglect water, skip sleep, and somehow bounce back. But after 60, the body becomes a little more honest. It doesn't let us get away with neglect anymore. Instead, it speaks more directly with signals like cramps, fatigue, or stiffness. Not to punish us, but to guide us, to say, take care of me and I'll take care of you. So let's think about what you've discovered. You've learned that cramps often strike at 3 in the morning because of the natural rhythm of your body, slower circulation, lower hydration, shortened muscles in certain positions. You've seen how minerals like magnesium and potassium act like oil in the gears of your muscles, keeping them running smoothly. You've uncovered how medications, nerve health, and lifestyle choices all tie into these sudden midnight spasms. And most importantly, you've learned that you have tools, simple, practical, everyday steps that can transform your nights from restless to restful. But beyond all the science and strategies, there's something deeper here. There's the reassurance that you are not powerless, that your body is not broken, that your age does not mean the end of peace, comfort, or joy. Every night you hydrate, every stretch you do, every mindful choice you make is proof that you are still in charge of your well-being, that you can still steer the course of your health even when the years add up. And here's something else worth remembering. Cramps connect us. If you've ever mentioned them to a friend, you've probably seen the knowing smile, the nod of recognition, the quick story of their own midnight battles. These experiences remind us that we are never alone in what we go through. Millions of people over 60 share this journey, and together we can remind each other of the simple truth that health challenges don't have to isolate us. They can unite us, inspire us, and even teach us new ways to care. I think of one woman, nearly 80, who used to say that every cramp she had was a little teacher. At first, she hated them. They woke her, frightened her, left her sore. But over time, she began to see them as lessons. A lesson to drink more water, a lesson to take that evening walk, a lesson to slow down, breathe, and let go of stress. And with every lesson learned, her cramps became fewer, her nights grew calmer, and her confidence returned. "They were my body's way of educating me," she said with a laugh. What a powerful perspective, to see pain not as an enemy, but as a guide. That's what I want for you, to walk away from this conversation not just with tips and tricks, but with a new relationship with your body, one rooted in respect, patience, and partnership. Because the truth is, your body has carried you through so much already. It has healed from scrapes, fought off colds, adapted to changes, and kept you moving through decades of life. The least we can do is meet it halfway now with the kindness it deserves. So let me leave you with this. Tonight, when you prepare for bed, make it a ritual of gratitude. Drink that glass of water not because you have to, but because you're nourishing yourself. Stretch your calves not as a chore, but as an act of love. Slide under the covers not with dread of what might come at 3 o'clock, but with peace, knowing you are doing your part. And if a cramp does still sneak in, face it with calm, knowing you have the tools to handle it and the wisdom to learn from it. Life after 60 can be full of challenges, yes, but it can also be full of victories. Every night of restful sleep, every morning without pain, every small change that brings comfort is a victory worth celebrating. You are not defined by cramps, or by age, or by discomfort. You are defined by your resilience, your wisdom, and your choice to keep showing up for yourself. So here's to you, to your nights of peace, your mornings of energy, your days of joy, to the strength you've shown in facing pain, and the hope you carry in moving past it. May you continue to listen to your body's signals, respond with love, and enjoy the comfort and freedom you absolutely deserve. And as you close your eyes tonight, I hope you remember this one simple truth. You are still in charge of your story. Even at 3 in the morning when the world is quiet and a cramp tries to steal your rest, you have the power to rise above it, to learn, to adapt, and to reclaim your peace. And that, my friend, is the real meaning behind those cramps. Not defeat, but possibility. Not weakness, but wisdom. Here's to your health, your comfort, and the beautiful nights ahead.